Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. My name is Dylan, and I'm an executive at a leading tech company in San Francisco. At one time, I thought I had the perfect life, a successful career, and a great family. But fate always likes to play jokes on people. One weekend, I was sitting in the living room with my wife Olivia, a fashion designer. Our daughter Emma is upstairs doing her homework. She is in an international school. I thought it was just a normal day until Olivia opened her mouth and said she wanted a divorce. "Dylan, we don't feel anything anymore," she said. "I think we should end this marriage." I looked at her in shock, unable to believe my ears. We've been together for 15 years. How can we say we don't feel anything? I tried to save our marriage, but Olivia was determined to go. The next few days were a nightmare. Divorce proceedings, property division, child custody battles, every single thing hurts me. What kills me is that the judge seems to be extraordinarily biased in favor of Olivia. On Judgment Day, I stood in the courtroom and listened to the judge read the verdict. Custody of Emma was awarded to Olivia, and I am paying high monthly support. Not only that, but I have to keep paying the mortgage on Olivia's mansion in a wealthy neighborhood. This is nonsense. I work hard, but I have to pay for my ex-wife's lavish lifestyle? The moment I walked out of the courtroom, I felt more angry and helpless than ever. I know that this verdict is going to make my life a living hell. But what angers me more is that I feel betrayed by the entire justice system. That night, I sat alone in my newly rented apartment, drinking whiskey and replaying the courtroom scene in my head. Olivia's smug smile, the judge's biased look, my lawyer's impotent expression. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got, and suddenly, a thought flashed through my mind. I'm going to get revenge, and I'm going to make them pay for it. From that day on, I began to carefully plan my revenge. I knew it would be foolish to take direct action against Olivia or the judge, and that would only get myself into more trouble. I need a smart, legal way to get back at you. I started researching the law, looking for possible loopholes. After countless late nights of drilling, I finally found a brilliant idea. The law states that I must pay alimony and the mortgage, but it does not specify how the payments are to be made. It gave me the perfect opportunity. I decided to convert all payments to coin payments. Imagine hundreds of thousands of pennies piling up on Olivia's doorstep every month. Not only would this cause her huge problems, it would embarrass her in front of her neighbors. Best of all, it's perfectly legal. The day the plan went into motion, I stood in front of Olivia's house and watched a money truck unload bags of coins. The look on Olivia's face as she opens the door and sees what's in front of her gives me a small thrill of revenge. "Dylan, what do you mean by that?" she asked in exasperation. I replied in mock innocence, "Dear ex-wife, I'm just honoring the court's decision. These are all the money you deserve, every penny." Olivia was furious, but there was nothing she could do. After all, I did make the payments on time, just in a special way. The program quickly caused a stir in the wealthy neighborhoods. Every month, neighbors stop to watch when the money truck appears on the street. I know that Olivia must be embarrassed and annoyed by this. However, I underestimated Olivia's ability to fight back. Within 2 months, her lawyer sued me again. This time, they claimed that my behavior was in deliberate defiance of the court's decision. Standing in the courtroom again, I realized things weren't as simple as I thought they would be. Olivia's lawyer, a wily fellow, subtly implied to the judge that my behavior was not just a harassment of Olivia, but a provocation to the entire judicial system. I saw the judge's face grow somber. I couldn't believe my ears when he announced the verdict. Inasmuch as the conduct of the defendant, Mr. Dillon, has seriously interfered with the plaintiff's normal life and has shown clear contempt for the judgment of the court sentences the defendant to 6 months imprisonment as a punishment. And just like that, I, an executive who had never broken the law, was sentenced to 6 months in jail for paying alimony and pennies. This ridiculous ruling has completely lost my trust in the justice system. As I was being escorted to prison, I was filled with anger and resentment. I knew that the 6 months in jail would cost me a lot of things: my job, my social status, and maybe even the chance to spend time with Emma. But I tell myself that this is just a temporary setback. I'll be back and stronger than ever. Sitting in the escort van, I began to think about my next step. I know that just paying with coins is no longer enough. I need a bigger, more comprehensive revenge plan. I'm going to make everyone involved in setting me up pay. Olivia, that biased judge, even Olivia's slick lawyer. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. I knew that the rest of the day would not be easy. But I also knew that this was just the beginning of my road to revenge. When I get out of jail, I'll show them how terrible it is to piss off a smart guy. The escort van slowly pulls into the prison gates, a sneer playing at the corner of my mouth. Yes, they thought locking me up would bring me to my knees, but they were wrong. I'll make good use of these 6 months, and I'll plot a revenge they'll never forget. As the steel door of the cell closed behind me, I knew that my new life had begun. But I also know that this is just the beginning of a journey to ultimate victory. I, Dylan, a wronged executive, will use my intelligence and determination to make all those who have hurt me pay. I lay on the hard cell bed, staring at the speckled ceiling. I know that the world outside is flying by and I'm stuck in this small space. But I don't feel despair. On the contrary, I feel a calmness and determination that I have never felt before. I began to think back on the whole incident, trying to figure out what mistakes I had made. Maybe I was too eager for revenge. Maybe I underestimated Olivia's influence. But there's no point in regretting it now. I need to move forward and need a more thoughtful plan. Just then I heard a low chuckle from the next cell. "Hey, new guy, you don't look like you're going to jail." I turned my head to see a burly man standing in the next cell, his arms covered in tattoos and a hint of teasing in his eyes. "You're right," I replied. "I really shouldn't be here." "So how did you get in here?" he asked, a hint of curiosity in his tone. I briefly recounted what happened to me, including the divorce, the unfair judgment, and my idea of paying alimony in pennies. After hearing my story, the man burst out laughing. "Man, you're creative. I'm Jason. Nice to meet you." I gave my name as well and was a little surprised. I didn't expect to meet friendly people in this place. Jason and I grew to know each other well over the following days. What surprised me was that we shared a common past. Turns out, Jason and I used to be in a gang when I was a delinquent. It's just that we've since taken different paths, and I've changed the trajectory of my life through my studies, while Jason has been teetering on the edge of society. "I didn't realize you were doing so well now," Jason said. "An executive, that's enviable." I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, executive. Isn't it just like you now, squatting in this hellhole?" Jason patted the bars and said, "Don't be discouraged, man. This is a bad place, but it has its rules. If you're smart enough, you can survive here." I looked into Jason's eyes and suddenly realized that maybe it was fate. Maybe Jason is the help I need. "Jason," I said, lowering my voice, "I need your help." "What kind of help?" Jason asked with interest. I told Jason about my plan for revenge, including my desire to gather information on those who framed me. Jason listened with a glint of excitement in his eyes. "Interesting," he said. "I like your plan. However, you should know that gathering information here is no easy task." "I know," I said, "but I'm sure you have a way." Jason thought for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, I'll help you. But you have to do me a favor too." "What favor?" I asked. "When you get out, get me a job with your company. I'm sick of this life and want to start over." I didn't answer immediately. I know it's not easy to help place someone with an ex-con, especially in a high-tech company. However, without Jason's help, my plan may not have been possible. "Deal," I finally said. "As long as you can help me gather the information I need, I promise I'll give you a chance." Jason gave a satisfied smile, and we shook hands across the bars. And just like that, my prison life had a new purpose. During the day, I acted like a model prisoner and tried to adapt to life here. But by the end of the night, I was discussing my plan with Jason and analyzing the weaknesses of each target. However, prison life is not always so smooth. Some of the guards seemed to be particularly interested in me as an executive prisoner, and they often found excuses to make things difficult for me. Once, a prison guard even punched and kicked me for no reason. As I lay beaten and bruised in the infirmary, I felt an anger I had never felt before. I swear, when I get out, I'm going to make these people pay. Jason was also outraged when he saw how miserable I was. Don't worry, brother, he said. We'll make them regret it. That very night, Jason told me that he had already started gathering information on those people through his network of contacts. That includes not only Olivia, the judge, and the lawyers, but also the prison guards who bullied me. You know, Jason whispered, that prison guard who beat you up, he had a pretty girlfriend. She works at a bar and comes home alone from work every night. I caught Jason's hint, but I shook my head. No, we can't hurt innocent people. We have to outsmart them, not force them. Jason smiled. You're right, bro. Let's have some fun then. Like, maybe we can show her how her boyfriend treats the inmates in prison. I nodded, feeling a twinge of excitement. Yes, that's the right way. We're going to punish them for their own behavior. As time went on, my plan got better and better. Through Jason's help, we were able to gather a great deal of useful information. I began to send messages to the outside world through various covert means to begin my revenge. The effects were soon apparent. The girlfriend of the prison guard who hit me received a video showing how her boyfriend was abusing inmates. It wasn't long before I heard that the prison guard had been suspended and investigated. Olivia's lawyer is also in trouble. Someone anonymously reported him to the Bar Association for illegal behavior, and although it turned out to be a misunderstanding, the process burned him out. As for the eccentric judge, we find out that he has a little-known hobby. He likes to write erotic novels online under a pseudonym. Jason manages to get the judge's account password through his network of contacts. Instead of publicizing this information, we cleverly used the account to allow the judge's wife to accidentally discover the secret. My act of revenge was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, sending ripple after ripple. One by one, those who had hurt me were getting into trouble. What I find most satisfying is that these retaliatory actions were done on the edge of the law. I didn't hurt anyone directly, just skillfully exploited their own weaknesses and secrets. As time went on, my reputation in prison spread. They started calling me Texan, which means I'm a tough guy to mess with. Even the prison guards who used to bully me are much more polite to me now. One day Jason whispered to me, "Dude, you know what? People out there are speculating about who's behind all this. Some say it's the mob, some say it's political retaliation, but no one thinks it's you, the unlucky guy who's in jail." I couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, who would have thought? It's amazing how someone who is locked behind bars can influence the outside world. It's a feeling that makes me feel like I'm the one playing chess, and those who have hurt me are just pieces on the board. However, just as I was gloating over my success, an unexpected piece of news came. My daughter Emma is coming to visit. The moment I saw Emma, I felt both happy and guilty. Happy that I finally got to see my beloved daughter. Guilty that I let her see her father in prison. "Daddy," Emma said with a quiver in her voice, "I want to live with you." I looked at her in surprise, unable to believe my ears. "Emma, what did you say?" Emma took a deep breath, then said firmly, "I said, I want to live with you. I've already talked to Mom and she agreed." I look into Emma's eyes and suddenly realize that in all the time I've been busy getting revenge, my daughter has grown up. She's no longer that little girl who needs my protection, but a young person with ideas of her own. "Emma," I said softly, "you know where I am right now. I might not be a good father." Emma interrupted, "No, Dad. You're the best father in the world. I know you're innocent and I believe you. I want to help you." I felt a surge of relief and emotion when I heard those words. I suddenly realized that there was someone else in the world who was always on my side. This realization brought more satisfaction than all my revenge schemes. "Thank you, Emma," I said, trying to keep my emotions in check. "But are you sure? It might be tough with me." Emma nodded firmly. "I'm sure, Dad. And I have good news for you." She told me that she had contacted an education specialist named Sarah. Sarah helped her prepare the necessary legal documents so that she could become a free agent. It means that when I get out of jail, Emma can legally live with me. When I heard the news, I felt a sense of hope that had been missing for a long time. Maybe there is a turnaround in my life. Maybe I have a chance to start over. Just then, visiting hours ended. Looking at Emma's departing back, I suddenly felt a twinge of confusion. Is my plan for revenge really the right choice? Shouldn't I be focusing on how to rebuild my life instead of dwelling on past hurts? When I got back to my cell, I told Jason about these thoughts. He was silent for a moment, then said, "You know what, brother? Maybe this is the chance you've been waiting for. Your daughter has given you a reason to start over." But, he paused, "don't forget that the people who hurt you are still out there. If you don't act, they could hurt you and your daughter again." I nodded, understanding what Jason meant. Yeah, I can't completely abandon my plan, but perhaps I need to adjust my strategy. I needed a plan that would protect me and Emma without getting me in trouble again. And with that, I began to replan my future. I decided that I would use my wisdom and experience to not only get back at those who had hurt me, but to create a better life for Emma and me. I know that the road won't be easy. I've got 3 months to serve before I have to face the outside world. But now, I have a new motivation. I no longer live only for revenge. I have a daughter to protect and care for. Every night, when the lights went out in my cell, I would lie in bed and visualize what was to come. I saw Emma and I living in a cozy home, me getting my job back, and our lives slowly getting on track. And those who have hurt us, they will regret what they have done. Yes, I have 3 months left. I'll make the most of these 3 months. I will continue to refine my plan, but this time, my goal is no longer just revenge, but to create a better future. When the last day came, I stood in front of the prison gates and took a deep breath of the fresh outside air. I knew that my new life was about to begin, and this time, I won't make the same mistake. I will be more cautious, wiser, and stronger. Because now, I'm no longer just fighting for myself. I have a daughter I need to protect. I, Dylan, vowed to be a better man, a better father. I took my first step towards freedom with hope and determination in my heart. I know that the future is still full of challenges, but I am ready. I will face every challenge with my wisdom and courage to create a bright future for Emma and me. This is my story, a tale of betrayal, revenge, and rebirth. But more importantly, this is a story of hope. Because even in our darkest moments, life will always give us a second chance if we don't give up hope. As my release date approached, I felt both excited and apprehensive. 6 months in jail changed me, made me stronger and more cautious. Jason's help was invaluable. Not only did he teach me how to survive in prison, but he also helped me build a strong network of information that laid the groundwork for my revenge plan. Finally, the day of my release came and I stood outside the prison gates. Taking a deep breath of free air, I felt a relief I hadn't felt in a long time. Emma was waiting for me at the door, and seeing her big smile made me know it was all worth it. "Daddy!" Emma ran over and hugged me. "Welcome home." I held her close, feeling the warmth of my daughter. This was the moment I knew my focus in life had to change. Revenge is important, but Emma's happiness is my top priority. "Thank you, baby," I whispered. "I'm sorry for putting you through all this." Emma shook her head. "Don't say that, Dad. We're together now, and that's all that matters." We drove back to our new home. It's a small but cozy apartment away from the chaos of a wealthy neighborhood. Emma told me that she had transferred the original house into her name. "It prevents Mom from having any demands on the house," Emma explains, "and Sarah has been a big help. I have to admit that my daughter is much smarter than I thought. Not only did she get a free ride, but she thought about protecting our assets." I was proud of her and felt a twinge of guilt at the same time. Emma was the one who took on so much while I was in prison. After settling in, I set about rebuilding my life. First, I need to get a job. Although I have a lot of management experience, my previous convictions have made a lot of companies shy away from me. Eventually, through an old friend, I landed a position as a consultant at a small tech startup. The job wasn't as glamorous as it used to be, but it gave me a chance to start over. I decided to cherish this opportunity and work hard without forgetting my revenge plan. In my free time, I continued to refine my program. Jason was out of jail, and I kept my promise and helped him get a job at the company I work for. He's in charge of corporate security, a position that allows him to capitalize on the network of contacts he built in prison. Our program began to be implemented gradually. First, we started to gather more information about that eccentric judge. Through Jason's connections, we find out that this judge not only has a penchant for writing erotica, but is also suspected of taking bribes. We carefully and anonymously provided this information to L local anti-corruption organization. We then turned our attention to Olivia's attorney. We found that he had a serious gambling problem and frequented underground casinos. Instead of exposing him directly, we subtly let some of his clients know about it. Soon his reputation took a serious hit. As for Olivia, I had planned to take more drastic retaliatory action against her. But Emma's presence changed my mind. I realized that the mother who hurt Emma would only end up hurting Emma herself. Instead, I chose a more subtle approach. I anonymously provided her fashion design company with some misinformation about industry trends, which resulted in a fiasco for her new collection. Throughout this process, I remained vigilant to ensure that my actions would not be traced back to me. I know that if I get caught again, I could lose Emma, and that's something I can't afford. In the meantime, I'm trying to repair my relationship with Emma. We often have dinner together and discuss her studies and life. I was surprised to find that Emma had a keen interest in the law. "I want to be a lawyer, Dad," Emma said to me out of the blue one night. "I want to help people who have been treated unfairly like you." I had mixed feelings when I heard that. On the one hand, I'm proud of Emma's ambition. On the other, I worry that my vengeful behavior will affect her future. "Emma," I said seriously, "being a lawyer is a noble profession. But you must remember that the law is for justice, not revenge." Emma nodded. "I know, Dad. I'll use the law to help people, not hurt them." Her words put me in deep thought. I began to reflect on my behavior and wondered if my plan for revenge was really worth it. Perhaps the real victory is not making those who have hurt me pay, but proving that I can get back up and be a better person. Just then, an unexpected phone call interrupted my thoughts. It's Sarah, the education specialist who helped Emma get her free hand. "Dylan," Sarah's voice sounded a little strained. "There's something I need to talk to you about Emma." I promised to meet her the next day. I felt a twinge of unease when I hung up. Sarah's tone of voice made me feel that something might be going on. I looked at Emma, who was studying hard at her desk, and swore that I would protect her no matter what happened. Because right now, Emma is everything to me. My revenge, my future, my hope, everything is tied to her. Tomorrow, when I see Sarah, I'll know exactly what happened. But whatever happens, I'm ready. Because I'm not the same Dylan who's locked up in prison and only fantasizes about revenge. Now I am a father, a man who is trying to rebuild his life. I took a deep breath and gently closed the door to my study. Tomorrow, it will be a new day that may bring new challenges. But I'm ready, because now I'm living not only for myself, but for Emma. This is my new life, full of hope and full of challenges. The next morning, I went to my appointment to see Sarah with some trepidation. In the cafe, Sarah was already waiting there, her expression looking both serious and a little excited. "Dylan," she said, getting right to the point, "Emma told me she wants to apply to law school." I nodded. "Yeah, she mentioned it to me last night too." Sarah took a deep breath. "The thing is, she wants to apply to one of the best law schools in the country. With her grades, she definitely has a chance of getting in." But what?" I pursued, already vaguely guessing the answer in my mind. "But that school is in another city," Sarah said, "and if Emma gets accepted, she'll need to move." I was silent. Emma's desire to be a good lawyer is something I support. But the idea of letting her leave my side sent a stab of pain through me. Sarah seemed to see my hesitation and whispered, "Dylan, I know this is hard for you, but it's Emma's dream and—" She paused, "and it could be good for both of you." I looked up at her in disbelief. Sarah explains, "Emma needs to grow independently, and you need time to really let go of the past and start over. Perhaps this is an opportunity for you both to grow." I knew Sarah had a point, but inside I was still conflicted. Just then, Sarah gently took my hand. "Dylan," she said softly, "I know you've been through a lot, but don't you think it's time to let go of the past and really move on?" I looked into Sarah's eyes and suddenly realized that I was at peace with myself in the presence of this gentle, strong woman. Perhaps this is the answer I've been looking for. When I got home, I decided to have a talk with Emma. I found her sitting in the living room, nervously waiting for me. Dad, she stood up as soon as she saw me. Did Sarah tell you? About law school? I nodded and sat down next to her. Emma, I whispered, are you really sure this is what you want? Emma nodded firmly. Yes, Dad. I want to be a lawyer who can really help people. I know it means we'll be apart for a while, but I interrupted and took her into my arms. I'm very proud of you, Emma. Very proud. If this is your dream, then you have my full support. Emma hugged me tightly, and I felt her tears soaking my shirt. Thank you, Dad. I promise I'll study hard and be the best lawyer I can be. With that, Emma began her law school application. Over the next few months, we were busy preparing application materials and attending interviews. This process has brought us closer together and has made me come to realize that my daughter is old enough to have her own dreams and pursuits. Meanwhile, my relationship with Sarah was quietly developing. At first, we only saw each other regularly because of Emma, but gradually I found myself looking forward to each meeting with her. Sarah is gentle and strong, and her presence makes me feel calm and safe. One night, on the way home from dropping Sarah off, I worked up the courage to invite her to dinner. It's not to discuss Emma, I said a little nervously. It's just you and me having dinner together. Sarah smiled, her eyes glinting softly in the streetlight. I'd love to, Dylan. And with that, we started dating. Sarah's presence makes my life better. She understands my past, but values my present and future more. With her encouragement, I began to revisit my revenge plan. Dylan, Sarah told me seriously once, past hurts do exist, but constantly dwelling on revenge will only cost you the happiness you have now. You have Emma, your career, and she pauses, her face flushing slightly, and me. Maybe it's time to let go of the past and really start a new life. I know Sarah's right. As time went on, I found my obsession with revenge waning. I began to put more energy into my work, and the company gradually took off under my efforts. The results of Emma's application are finally in, and she has been accepted to one of the best law schools in the country. When we received our acceptance letter, the whole family was ecstatic. Daddy, I did it. Emma hugged me excitedly. I hugged my daughter tightly, my heart filled with pride and dismay. Of course you did, you're my daughter. During the time that Emma was preparing to leave, I began to work on some of the legacy issues. I contacted Jason and told him I had decided to abandon the rest of my revenge plan. Are you sure, bro? Jason asked on the other end of the line. Yes, I'm sure, I replied. It's time to move on. I also called Olivia. This is the first time we've reached out to her since we separated. Dylan, said Olivia with surprise in her voice. Hi, Olivia. I tried to keep my tone calm. I just wanted to tell you that Emma got accepted into law school. I thought you should know the news. There was silence on the other end of the line for a moment, and then I heard Olivia whisper, Thanks for telling me, Dylan. I'm so proud of her. We spoke briefly and then ended the call. Putting down the phone, I felt a sense of relief, as if years of burdens had finally been lifted. The day Emma left, I walked her to the airport with Sarah. Watching Emma walk towards the security checkpoint with her luggage on her back, I had mixed feelings. Take care of yourself, I said as I hugged Emma, and call me anytime if you need anything. Emma nodded, tears in her eyes. I will, Daddy. I love you. I love you too, baby. I felt a pang of loss as I watched Emma's figure disappear through the security checkpoint. Sarah gently took my hand. She'll be fine, Sarah said softly. You've raised a strong daughter. I nodded and turned to Sarah. In her eyes, I saw understanding, support, and love. Sarah, I take a deep breath. Thank you for always being there for me. I think we can start thinking about our future. Sarah broke into a big smile. That's what I thought, Dylan. We walked out of the airport holding hands. The sun was warm on us and I knew that this was the beginning of a new life. The hurts and hatreds of the past have been left behind and a promising future lies ahead. I, Dylan, once an avenger, am now a whole new person. I have a chance to start over with a loving daughter and an understanding partner. I know that there will be challenges in life, but I'm ready for them. Because this time, I'm not fighting alone. I have a real family and a future worth fighting for. In the days since Emma left, my life has gradually gotten back on track. I was becoming more and more comfortable with my job at the company, and my relationship with Sarah was steadily growing. However, just when I thought everything was looking up, an unexpected announcement shattered the peace. It was a normal weekday afternoon, and I had just finished a meeting when I received a court summons. I was asked to appear in court because Olivia filed a lawsuit claiming that I owed a large amount of support and damages. I felt a wave of vertigo as I looked at the subpoena in my hand. I thought it was all over, but apparently the past doesn't let me off the hook that easily. I called Sarah immediately and she listened and was silent for a moment, then said firmly, "Don't worry, Dylan. We'll face this together. I know a very good lawyer who can help us." With Sarah's help, I contacted Megan, a lawyer she recommended. Megan, an experienced family law attorney, listened carefully to my story with a thoughtful expression. "Dylan," Megan said, "this case isn't simple. Olivia's allegations seem to have merit, but I believe we can find a way through. I'm going to need you to provide me with all the relevant documents, including your previous judgment, payment records, and documents related to Emma's free agency." Over the next few weeks, Megan and I worked closely together to prepare our defense. In the process, I had to face the painful experiences of my past once again. But this time, I had Sarah's support, which made it all a little less difficult. Finally, the day of court arrived. I put on my most formal suit and walked into the courtroom with Sarah. When I saw Olivia and her lawyer, I felt a pang of discomfort. Olivia looks smarter and more capable than ever, and she has a hostile look in her eye. The judge bangs his gavel, and the trial begins. Olivia's attorney spoke first, claiming that I had been failing to fulfill my due diligence after I was released from prison and owed a large amount of support and restitution. He also made a point of emphasizing my priors and trying to paint me as an irresponsible father. When it was Megan's turn to speak, she stood up calmly. "Your Honor," Megan began, "my client, Mr. Dillon, did have an unfortunate experience, but that does not define who he is as a person. In fact, since his release from prison, Mr. Dillon has been trying to rebuild his life and do his best to fulfill his fatherly responsibilities." Megan then began to make several key points. First, she pointed out that Emma had been granted her freedom and had chosen to live with me. This means that Olivia no longer has the right to demand that I pay Emma's support. Second, Megan produced a real estate document proving that the original house had been sold by Emma and that the proceeds had been used to pay her tuition. That means I no longer have to pay the mortgage on that house. Finally, Megan emphasized that since my release from prison, I have been working hard and fulfilling my responsibilities as best I can. She showed my pay stubs and bank records to prove that I had been paying the portion I could afford on time. "It's not that my client is unwilling to fulfill his responsibilities," Megan concluded. "He just needs a chance to start over." We respectfully asked the court to consider the reality of Mr. Dillon's situation and give him a fair and reasonable sentence. As Megan spoke, I noticed the judge's expression gradually become thoughtful. When Olivia's attorney attempted to rebut, the judge interrupted him several times to ask for more specific evidence. Finally, the judge adjourned the hearing to consider the verdict. The wait felt so long it felt like an eternity. Sarah has been holding my hand and giving me silent support. When we were called back into the courtroom, my heart was beating so fast it was almost beating out of my chest. The judge cleared his throat and began to read the verdict. Considering all of the evidence presented and the statements of the parties, this court makes the following determination. Given that Ms. Emma is free and clear and has chosen to live with her father, Mr. Dillon, Ms. Olivia is not entitled to continue to seek child support from Mr. Dillon for Emma. With respect to the home loan, Mr. Dillon is no longer liable for the costs as the property has been sold. I felt a wave of relief, but the judge wasn't finished. However, the judge continued. In consideration of the fact that Mr. Dillon's prior conduct did cause Ms. Olivia some financial loss and emotional harm, this court has ruled that Mr. Dillon is required to pay a lump sum of $50,000 in damages. This restitution may be paid in installments of no less than $1,000 per month. The judge bangs the gavel and the trial is over. Although I had to pay a settlement, the outcome was much better than what Olivia had originally asked for. As I walked out of the courtroom, I saw Olivia standing in the hallway. Our eyes met, and for a moment, I saw a flash of complexity in her eyes. I walked up and took a deep breath and said, "Olivia, I know a lot has happened in the past and I apologize for my actions. I hope that from now on, we can let go of our past grudges for the sake of Emma's future." Olivia looks at me, silent for a moment, then nods softly. "Maybe you're right, Dylan. For Emma's sake, we should learn to live in peace." Just then, Sarah came over and gently took my hand. Olivia looked at Sarah and then at me, a bitter smile appearing at the corners of her mouth. "It looks like you've made a fresh start," she said, "and I wish you all the best." I felt a strange sense of relief as I watched Olivia's departing back. Years of grudges seemed to have finally come to an end at this moment. Sarah tenderly stroked the back of my hand and whispered, "You're doing great, Dylan. It's a new beginning." I nodded and looked deep into Sarah's eyes. Yes, it's a new beginning. Not just for me, but for us. Stepping out of the courthouse doors, the warm sunlight poured down on us. I know that there will still be challenges ahead, but as long as I have Sarah by my side and Emma's support, I will have the courage to face them all. This experience taught me that true justice is not achieved through vengeance, but through honesty, courage, and perseverance. I, Dylan, can finally truly let go of the past and embrace a hopeful future. In the days following the court storm, my life began to move in a more positive direction. I was determined to prove that the judge's trust was not misplaced, and more than that, to prove to Emma that her father could be an honorable man. With Sarah's encouragement, I started to come up with some innovative ideas in the company. I have utilized the experience I have gained in my executive position, combined with the lessons I learned in prison, to come up with some unique management programs. These programs have not only increased the efficiency of the company, but have also greatly improved the working environment and satisfaction of the employees. The CEO of the company noticed the changes, and he started giving me more responsibility. Slowly, I worked my way up from a regular consultant to a division manager and then vice president. Each step of promotion has been gratifying, but what I cherish even more is the fact that these accomplishments have been earned through honesty and hard work. While my career was thriving, my relationship with Sarah was deepening. She has always been my strongest backer, giving me support and advice when I am in trouble. One night, at our favorite restaurant, I asked her to marry me. "Sarah," I said nervously, while holding out a ring, "will you be my wife?" Sarah's eyes glistened with tears as she nodded her head vigorously. "Yes, Dylan, I do." Our wedding was simple but cozy. Emma came back from law school especially to attend, and she stood beside me with a happy smile on her face. When I saw how well Emma and Sarah got along, I knew we were really becoming a family. After the wedding, Sarah became pregnant. When I found out the news, I was thrilled beyond words. I, Dylan, am really going to be a father. A fresh start. "We're going to have a little baby," Sarah said softly, stroking her belly. I hugged her tightly, my heart filled with gratitude and anticipation. In this moment, I felt that life was so beautiful and full of possibilities. Emma is also excited about having a brother or sister soon. She called back often to check on Sarah and would also give us some pregnancy advice that she had read in a medical book. "Take care of Sarah, Daddy," Emma always admonishes me. I can't wait to meet my little brother or sister. 9 months later, we welcomed a healthy boy we named Leo. When I first picked up Leo, I felt a sense of responsibility and love that I had never felt before. I secretly vowed to be a good father and give Leo the best life I could. Emma graduated from law school and became an attorney, as she had hoped. She specializes in providing legal assistance to those who have been treated unfairly. Watching her fight for justice made me incredibly proud. "Dad," Emma said to me once, "it was your experience that taught me the importance of the law. I wish I could help more people like you." I was moved to hug her and be proud of her growth and accomplishments. As for Jason, with my help, he has also found a suitable position in the company. He was in charge of the company's security and did a great job. I am sincerely happy to see him start a new life again as well. I happened to run into Olivia on the street one day. She looks quite haggard, and I hear her fashion design career hasn't been going too well. "Hi, Olivia." I greeted kindly. "How's it going?" Olivia forced a smile. "It's okay. I hear you're doing well." I nodded. "Yes, life is going well. How's Emma doing?" She's fine, Olivia said. She told me she's a lawyer now. You must be very proud of her. We should all be proud of her, I said sincerely. She's grown into a wonderful person. We exchanged brief pleasantries and then went our separate ways. Watching Olivia's back, I no longer felt anger or resentment, only a twinge of compassion and relief. When I got home and saw Sarah putting Leo to bed, my heart was filled with warmth. I gently walked over and hugged her from behind. I love you all, I whispered. Sarah turned and looked at me tenderly. We love you too, Dylan. It was in this moment that I felt immensely happy and fulfilled. I've had so many ups and downs in my life, but in the end, I've found true happiness. I am no longer the resentful man, but a happy husband, a loving father, and a successful entrepreneur. I realize that life will inevitably have its ups and downs, but it's how we face those challenges that matters. Through honesty, courage, and perseverance, we can always find the light. Now, when I look back, instead of feeling pain for past mistakes, I am thankful for those experiences that allowed me to grow into the person I am today. I know that many more challenges await us in the future, but as long as we work together, there is nothing we cannot overcome. This is my story, a story of loss, revenge, redemption, and rebirth. But more importantly, it's a story of hope and love. Because no matter how hard life gets, as long as we have love in our hearts, there is always hope. I, Dylan, once an avenger, am now a happy man. I finally realized that true victory is not over others, but over oneself and finding inner peace and happiness. Now, I can proudly say that I have found my happy ending. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.